What's up, traders? Zach here from the Trading Network. I hope you guys are doing well and that you've had a nice weekend. I am back with yet another weekly market profile forecast for both the ES and NQ futures markets. So what we are going to do, for those of you guys who are not familiar with these videos, is we will discuss some major levels and inflection points moving forward into the week from a market profile analysis standpoint. I start off with the session profiles for both ES and NQ. Then I'll move on to the weekly profiles, and I will also discuss my thoughts on the weekly candlestick charts as well. So let's waste no more time. Let's dig into the NQ session profile here. And what you guys will very likely notice is that we have not been in this area for quite some time. So the reaction, as usual, to Friday's session levels are going to be very important and very telling for where we might see price go in the beginning of the week. So with that said, I am going to be first and foremost keeping an eye on the reaction to the value area high from Friday and the value area low from Friday. Now, my thought is if we can move and hold above value area high from Friday, which is right around 12,280, we are very likely to get a test of Friday's high at around 12,308 and then see subsequent levels higher, which I will move on over to the weekly chart and discuss with you guys shortly. Now, if we cannot move and hold above value from Friday, above 12,280, then we are very likely going to see some downside pressure into the value area low and test this 12,130 area. Now, if we break 12,130, 12,131 to the downside, I will be looking for a most immediate test of 12,113, which is the regular trading hours high from January 26th, and a break below that very likely gets us a move to 12,078, call it 12,080 if you'd like to round there. And that is the overnight high from the 26th into the 27th extended trading hours session right here. So the blue profiles, for those of you guys, again, not familiar, these are the overnight profiles. This is what takes place between or after the close of New York session and before the open of New York session. So basically, this is the price action from 5:01 p.m. Eastern time all the way up to 9:29 a.m. Eastern time. This is the extended trading hours profile, and these pink profiles here are the New York session or the regular trading hours profiles. So for me, the pink profiles, the RTH profiles, are always going to hold more weight, as that is where a majority of the business takes place for these instruments, as of course they are US index futures. So with that said, if we cannot remain within Friday's range, you can see Friday's range spans from the low at 12,041.75 all the way up to the high at 12,308.50. If we break the low of Friday right here at 12,041, then we are very likely to see a test of this naked POC at 12,009. That is a POC or a point of control that has been established and has not been touched since that point of control was established. So once we spent the most time in this session here on the 26th, we have never come back down to revisit that level, even in an overnight session. You can see that the overnight low from the 26th into the 27th got pretty close to it at 12,016, but we technically did not get down there, and a touch in an overnight session does not count as a closure of a naked point of control. We must move down and touch these levels in a regular trading hour session in order to consider that level tapped or to consider it no longer a naked point of control or a virgin point of control. Those are two different terms that mean the same thing. So these NPOCs or VPOCs, I like to call them NPOCs or naked point of controls, because a VPOC to me, in the way that I learn market profile, stands for a volume point of control. So that's why I call these naked point of controls, just to keep things a little bit separate and make sure that things are clear from a naming perspective, or how you refer to certain levels or certain areas of the profile. So with that said, that is basically going to be my analysis for NQ, and you guys will see that ES is very, very similar. So I will move on to that after I show you guys where I am looking from a weekly profile perspective. Now, you can see here on the weekly chart, we do not have anything. We do not have any levels above here because we have not been in this area for quite some time, for months at this point. So in order for me to grab more data, I will need to load more days on my weekly profile. So just give me a moment here. I'll load some more data and I'll show you guys where I'm looking. All right, so now I've got the weekly profile loaded up with data all the way back to July of 2022. Now, one reason why I love the market profile so much, and it is such an integral part of my trading system on a daily basis, is because it truly acts as a liquidity map. Now, sure, you can see the same patterns with candlestick charts, whether it's on a tick chart or a time-based chart, but I would argue that it is much clearer when you are looking at a higher time frame or a higher perspective profile, right? You can very clearly see that this area of in November was a huge area of resistance. Now, on the weekly profile, we have a naked point of control that we got very close to tapping last week at 12,329. Now, that is the weekly point of control all the way back to the weekly profile from September 13th, 2022. Now, this is a major inflection point, in my opinion, as if we can move through this area and get accepted above 12,330, we are very likely moving into some higher prior levels from that time frame. So what we have here is this POC at 12,329. My thought is if we can move and hold above that, our first test is likely going to be the value area high from that same weekly profile at 12,379. So if I zoom in here and scoot my chart over, you guys can see here 12,379. This is the value area high from the week of September 12th. And a move above that, we have two stacking naked POCs within about 50 points of each other, which is not very much at all on a weekly perspective. So we have this zone between 12,450 and 12,495. This is going to be a major area once again, and a move and acceptance above that area very likely gets us a move to 12.6K. Now you can see all of these stacking levels lining up here. We have 12,615. That's the value area high from the weekly profile of August 29th, 22. We have the point of control from the weekly profile of July 25th, 22. And 1 week before that, we have another weekly point of control from the week of July 18th, right around 12,600, okay? It's technically at 12,610, 12,611. So we have two stacking naked POCs. One of them actually is not a naked POC. They were prior naked POCs here, and you can see that this was closed in the subsequent session, and this POC from July 25th was actually closed about a month later on August 29th, or the week of August 29th. So that is where I will be looking at if we can indeed move and hold above this current naked POC from September 12th that we still have not touched. So it might seem like it is a ways away, but as you guys know, NQ is capable of a lot of crazy things. And we have NFP coming up this week, so it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of effect that news or that information drop has on the markets. If we get bullish reaction from NFP, that's where I will be looking. I will be looking for a more substantial move up into 12,450-ish, and then acceptance above 12,450, 12,500 very likely gets us a test of 12,615. And of course, we have another naked POC all the way up here at 13,095. Now, on a downside perspective, from a weekly profile look, I'll be looking at a move if we get rejected from last week's high around 12.3K. Be looking for a move to last week's value area high at 12,150. If we don't get that level used as support, we are very likely moving back down into 12,000 and subsequently into last week's POC 11,914. And if last week's POC does not hold, then I will be looking for once again a bit more of a substantial move back down to this 11,795 area. Call it 11.8K if you guys want to round up there. So with that said, these are going to be the major areas that I am focused on moving into the beginning of this week. Once again, most important order of business is the reaction to last week's high right around 12.3K. Above that, we likely get a test of 12,380, 12,450, 12,490, and then a larger move up to 12,614. And those are levels from months ago, from August, July, etc. So that's going to be very interesting and a clear change in behavior to me if we do start to move up and see reaction towards those levels. Now, with a rejection of last week's high, these are the levels that I'm looking at to the downside: 12,150, 12,000 even, 11,915, and a break below 11,915, which is last week's point of control, very likely gets us a move to 11.8K or 11,794 to be exact. So those are going to be some great levels to keep an eye on, mark off at the very least, and watch reaction there. Use these levels along with your other tools. If you guys are using our strategies, you can have immense opportunity when combining our tools along with this type of market profile analysis. So with that said, let's pop on over to the ES session chart first and foremost, and it'll be a very similar situation here on both the session and weekly profiles, but I want to just discuss some of these specific levels as well. Once again, I'm going to be looking at the reaction of last week's value area or Friday's value area, and subsequently the high and low of Friday if we do escape value, or when we inevitably escape value, whether it is to the downside or to the upside. So a break below value area low from Friday at 4071 very likely gets us a move into Friday's low at 4,061.75, and a break below that leaves this gleaming naked POC here at 4,052, a very likely area for a test. So just as a real world example, let's say that we do break value area low. Let's say that you see a good short opportunity, maybe with some bearish divergence, for example, around 4,071. You can take a little short off of the rejection of value area low from Friday, targeting Friday's low, perhaps even targeting the naked POC from Thursday at 40.52. Let's say that we move down to 40.52 and we do use that area as support. You can look for long trades from 40.52 up to 40.57, 40.61, and these subsequent levels as well. So that's how I'm using these market profile levels on a daily basis in my trading. This isn't just a crystal ball analysis. I think price will go here, here, and here. These are major levels that I'm marking off every single day and taking trade opportunity off of every single day if the appropriate parameters present themselves. So with that said, we're going to have to look to the weekly profile to see some higher levels. But if we move and hold above the value area high on ES at 40.96, look for a test of Friday's high at 41.0925, and then higher levels I will be looking at will be these levels up here. We have 41.30, which is the value area high from the weekly profile of December 12th. We've got the weekly high just above that, about 11 points above there at 41.41 even. So those are going to be my two most immediate levels, and you can see there's great confluence between the week of December 12th and the week of November 28th here, where the value area high from the week of November 28th is 41.25, only 5 points below the value high from December 13th weekly profile. And then you can see the weekly high from that November 28th profile is just 2 points above the high from the week of December 12th. So I will go ahead and draw a zone here and consider that if we can indeed move and hold above this zone, we are very likely to get further upside pressure into some levels that I will discuss very shortly. All right, so now that we have sufficient data loaded on the ES weekly profile, you guys will see a very similar pattern here, where we have a clear resistance that was established in November. This was around the end of November, around this 41.40-ish level, right, where we have these two stacking weekly highs that I just discussed. Now, what we also have above that, about 40 points, is a naked point of control on the weekly chart from the session of the weekly profile of August 22nd. Now, that is where I will be looking if we do indeed move and hold above last week's high at 41.10, move up to 41.40, and through 41.40 with acceptance. The 41.80 level is going to be a very key area to keep an eye on if we do see continued upside pressure into this coming week. So that is where I will be looking. Of course, right now we are around 40.77, so we are still a ways below last week's high, but that's where I'm going to have an eye if we do indeed see that upside pressure. Now, on the downside, if we can't move and hold above Friday's value high at 40.88, let alone, the moving up to the high of the prior weekly session, then I will be looking for a move down to 4,050, 4,028, which is last week's point of control, and then 10 points below that, we have last week's value area low. Now, if we lose last week's value area low at 4,018.25, I will be looking for a bit of a larger move into last week's low at 3963.25. So if we lose, once again, 4,020, if you want to round up, or technically 4,018.25, that's last week's value low, then we are very likely to see continued downside pressure if this area does not hold. Now, I will say this is, if we do get a move down to this 4,020 area, this is going to be a decent area to catch a bounce as well, or to see support come in, because we have a prior session high, a weekly high from January 9th, and then we have the subsequent value area high from the week of January 16th lining up here. So we have, once again, 4018.50 is the weekly high from January 9th, or the weekly session from January 9th. And then we have the next weekly profile from January 16th. The value area high there is just 3 points above that. And then, of course, we have last week's value area low. So when a value area high flips to a value area low, you could consider that as a support resistance flip. This is an area where prior to this most recent week, sellers were stepping in this 40-20 area and pushing price back down. You can see we had that happen 2 weeks in a row. Anytime that we got around this area, you can see here on the weekly profile from the 16th, we did peak above that 40-20 level, set our weekly high at 40.35, and then we got pushed back down. But now the value area low from our most recent session is a previous resistance area. So we have had this level, which is now support, be shifted from prior resistance. That is bullish overall. So if we do get pressure back down here, I would expect at least some buying to step in. And if we can't get buyers to step in at that level, that is once again, to me, stating that behavior is changing. If buyers were stepping in here last week and we are not seeing any buyers come in on a test of that level, obviously, once again, we are a ways above that. But I'm just saying, if this does happen, look for buyers to step in here, and if they don't, look for some significant selling pressure down through this void in liquidity, very likely down to at least this 39.85-ish level, very likely even further down to this 39.60-ish level. So that is where I would be looking, most importantly, on the ES weekly profile for some more macro perspective and some higher time frame levels. So with all of that said, from a market profile perspective, let's take a look at the weekly chart on both ES and NQ. I'll start with ES since that's what we were just looking at on the profile. And basically, I am looking at further continuation from this structure, right? We have indeed confirmed a change in behavior as we have broken out of this downward trend line. We have put in bullish divergence and then a higher low on the weekly chart. This, for me, is a reversal setup. Whether I see it on a 377 tick chart, a daily chart, or a weekly chart, this is the three-step shift. Step 1 is a clear directional move. Step 2 is bullish divergence. Step 3 is a higher low after the bullish divergence. And step 4, if you will, is the change in behavior. So you can see that we have a wick up here. This is the high from the December 16th weekly candle right here. And the high of this candle, to be exact, is 41.80. So this is going to be an area on the candlestick chart that I am looking at to least get a test of. I would imagine, and I would bet, if you will, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, that there are stop losses, short stop losses above this area. If we push above this 41.80 level, it is likely going to get us further upside pressure, very likely into this area right here, 43.30. You guys remember what I was just talking about in that 4,300 area? Naked POC at 43.26. So I'll shift back over here just to show you guys, get rid of these lines. So look at this confluence here. Not only is that a high from the weekly candlestick chart, that is a naked point of control from the market profile perspective. So I just wanted to point that out and make it very clear that, you know, these areas, they are not by coincidence. They are pure price structure, and this allows us to gain an edge regardless of whether we are trading on a micro scale, on an intraday basis, or on a macro scale from something like a weekly candlestick chart or a weekly market profile. So on the upside, you can look at, just mark off this, 4170, 4180 area. Keep an eye on the 43.30 area as well to the upside. And of course, this structure would be invalidated if we move below 37.80. So if we break and especially close a weekly candle below the low of 37.80, that's when the structure would be invalid. But until or unless that happens, we have, in my opinion, changed behavior from a macro perspective. So I will go on over to the NQ chart. You guys will see some similar vibes here. Let me get rid of my drawings. You can see, once again, we've got our bullish divergence. We've got our higher low right here, confirmed with this bar closing above the top of this, and we are seeing that continuation. So this level, this 12,300 level, going to be very important moving forward into the week. If we can move above and get accepted above that area, just as I discussed from a profile perspective, we're very likely to move into, I would say that the first area to test would be the 50 EMA on the weekly, which is around 12,430. And then above that, I would indeed be looking at this 12,750, 12,790 area. And we could even draw it up a little bit further towards 13,000, where once again, we have a resting weekly naked point of control. So once again, we will not invalidate this structure, this three-step shift structure, the bullish divergence followed by a higher low and continuation, unless we break 10,765-ish to the downside. So we've got quite a ways to go to even invalidate this structure. Could we range in here for a while? Totally. But this is what I'm looking at. You could even consider, you know, a little zone here. And if we break above the top of this zone, which would be like 12,350-ish, very likely getting that test of 12.7 and then 12.9, and perhaps even, you know, further to the upside to test this area as well. Now, we want to take it one level at a time. We never want to get too strongly biased to one side. We want to make sure that, you know, we are staying even keel in regards to our bias, in regards to allowing the market to tell us what to do instead of imposing our view on the market. So I think that this should give you guys a great deal of levels to keep an eye on, a great deal of opportunity if you mark these levels up and look for high probability trades at them. Of course, combining them with other tools to further increase the probability. But with that said, if you guys are just price action traders, these levels will work beautifully, even if you don't use any indicators. Now, I will just point out there that if you combine market profile analysis and these market profile levels with some indicators, such as the ones that we offer in the proprietary indicator package, you will indeed be deadly on these charts. So I will start to wrap things up here. I want to thank you guys, as always, for taking the time to watch this content. If you do enjoy what you see, please feel free to like, subscribe, and click that bell notification to get notified every single time that we post videos here on the channel. If you guys want to learn more about what we do here in the Trading Network inside of our private Discord and our daily live streams, check out the tradingnetwork.io, where you can purchase access to our most popular offering, the TTN Pro Trader Bundle, which includes lifetime Discord access, our proprietary indicator package, as well as our Fundamentals of Futures Trading course, where I teach varying strategies for multiple market conditions, such as the Opportunity Zone, which is our trending strategy, and the Momentum Flip, which is our ranging strategy, as well as our reversal strategy, which I have briefly discussed here, called the three-step shift. You guys have any questions about any of the products or any of the analysis from this video, you're welcome to drop a comment down below. You can also email us at info@thetradingnetwork.io or shoot us a message on Instagram at the.trading.network, and we will get back to you guys as soon as possible and help any way that we possibly can. Thank you guys once more for taking the time to watch this content. I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.